You were born with wealth already within you. The treasure you seek is not out there in the stock markets or in someone else's wallet. It lies in your own wonderful imagination. To be rich is not to possess currency. It is to awaken to the truth that you are the operant power. Let me tell you something radical. You don't have to work harder, beg or chase. You simply have to assume, yes, assume the feeling of wealth. Enter the state of the wish fulfilled. That's the secret. That is how the rich become rich. Not by effort alone, but by the bold acceptance of what is already theirs in imagination. You imagine lack and live in lack. You imagine struggle and attract struggle. But shift the inner image and the outer world bends. This is not theory, it is law. The world reflects your assumptions, your inner convictions. And if you want to be rich, you must stop pretending you're poor. Stop speaking of how hard it is. Stop worrying about bills. Begin now to feel the joy of abundance. Picture yourself in possession of what you desire, not tomorrow, now. Walk through the world with that invisible crown of wealth on your head. Dress inwardly as one who already has. Speak as one who already is. Not a beggar asking life for favors, but a creator choosing his experience. You don't attract what you want, you attract what you are conscious of being. So if you say, I am rich, but feel poor, life will mirror the feeling, not the words. So don't just repeat affirmations like parrots. Enter the state, dwell in it, sleep in it, saturate yourself with the feeling until it hardens into fact. Everything begins in the unseen, that bank account you wish to see grow, that house, that freedom. It first takes root in imagination. This is the workshop of God, and you are the vessel through which creation flows. When you persist in the assumption that you are wealthy, reality has no choice but to conform. So be bold. Use your inner eye. Sit quietly, close the outer senses, and inwardly live the life of wealth. Hear the sound of success. Feel the texture of luxury. Touch the joy of financial freedom. And when doubt arises, and it will, return to your state, re-enter it, over and over until the world catches up. This is how you become rich. You accept it first in the invisible, you become it in consciousness, and then you let the world bring it to you in its own strange and wonderful ways. Your self-concept is the foundation of everything you experience in life, especially wealth. It is the internal blueprint that shapes how you see the world, how you interact with it, and ultimately what you allow yourself to receive from it. The truth is, you cannot rise beyond the image you hold of yourself. If deep within you see yourself as someone who always struggles financially, who has to fight for every dollar, or who is not the type, the person who becomes rich, then no matter what strategies you try, your reality will continue to reflect that internal script. You may want wealth, but wanting is not enough. The state of wanting implies that you do not already possess it. Your self-concept must become that of a wealthy person. Not someday, not when the money comes, but now. In imagination, you must begin to feel yourself to be the one who lives in financial freedom, who is secure, who is successful, who deserves and accepts abundance. This is not about arrogance or fantasy. It's about assuming a new identity in consciousness, because all change starts there. Every belief you hold about yourself acts like a filter through which life must pass. If you believe money doesn't come easily, your subconscious will organize circumstances to fulfill that belief. If you believe, I'm just not good with money, you'll keep finding evidence to prove it. But once you shift the inner concept, once you begin to believe, I am someone who easily attracts wealth, I am financially wise. I am abundant by nature. You change the way you think, feel, act, and most importantly, the way life responds to you. This is not magic, it's law. Life mirrors your assumptions. Your circumstances are outpictured states of consciousness. The state you dwell in, whether it is one of lack or one of wealth, draws matching experiences to itself. That's why trying to change the outer world without changing the inner self rarely works. The one who earns $100 0 cents a week and the one who earns $10,000 0 cents a week are not just performing different actions, they are operating from different self-concepts. You don't need to earn a new self-concept, you can choose to adopt it now. In the quiet of your own mind, you can begin to tell a new story about who you are. You can mentally rehearse being the version of you who is already wealthy, already confident, already generous and secure. And as you persist in that inner state, your outer world will begin to conform, not because of force, but because reality must match the identity you claim. There's a reason why people can win the lottery and be broke again within a year. It's because their self-concept didn't change. The outer windfall could not override the inner blueprint. And the reverse is also true. Someone with a self-concept of wealth can lose everything and rebuild it with ease, because their consciousness won't allow them to stay in lack. They simply don't identify with it. The money is not the power. The self is. To be rich in the world, you must first be rich in your mind. You must feel that richness as your natural state. You must see yourself through the eyes of abundance, not desperation. When your identity aligns with wealth, the world must follow. The shift does not start in your bank account. It starts in your belief about who you are. And who you are at the deepest level is the operant power in your world. Choose that identity wisely. Doubt is part of the process. It's a natural response from a mind that has been conditioned by years of observing facts, relying on the senses, and believing only what is visible. When you begin to live from a new assumption, especially one as bold as wealth, success, or transformation, it's only logical that your old beliefs will protest. Doubt will whisper, this isn't real. You're only imagining. This won't work. But the presence of doubt does not mean you failed. It simply means you are challenging your former identity. And that's a necessary part of growth. You must understand that faith is not the absence of doubt. It is the persistence in belief despite doubt. Faith is the ability to return again and again to your chosen state, no matter how loud the world may scream otherwise. The key is to respond gently, not with panic or self-condemnation, but with calm assurance. When doubt creeps in, you don't fight it. You notice it, acknowledge it, and then quietly return to your assumed reality. You re-enter the state of the wish fulfilled. Think of the mind as a garden. For years, you've planted seeds of fear, lack, and limitation. Now you are planting seeds of abundance, power, and possibility. But the weeds of doubt will still rise. You don't need to panic every time one appears. You simply pull it up and return to tending your new garden. The more consistent you are, the less room doubt has to grow. You don't uproot your dreams just because of a few dry days. You keep watering, you keep believing, you persist. It's important to recognize that doubt often arises just before change. It comes not because you're off track, but because your old self is being displaced. When you persist in imagining yourself wealthy, for instance, and your senses still report lack, there is friction. The mind resists change because it seeks safety in the familiar, even if the familiar is painful. So the old identity will send up doubt as a form of self-protection. But that's your cue to keep going. That's the moment when inner discipline matters most. You return not by force, but by feeling. You close your eyes, breathe deeply, and re-enter the feeling of already being what you've chosen to be. You see the scene again. You hear the voices congratulating you. You feel the joy of your fulfilled desire. You don't argue with the doubt. You transcend it by shifting focus. This is not a battle of willpower. It is a redirection of attention. Over time, the doubt grows quieter. It no longer has authority. Your faith deepens, not as a rigid belief, but as a steady awareness of a truth felt deeply within. You begin to trust your inner world more than the outer. You learn to dwell in the invisible with confidence, knowing that the outer must eventually conform. The world may tell you to be realistic, to be cautious, to not get your hopes up, but faith says otherwise. Faith says, dwell in the unseen. Faith says, persist in the assumption. Faith says, what you feel as true and continue to feel will become your fact. So doubt if you must, but don't stay there. You are not defined by a passing thought. You are defined by the state you return to most often. Let that state be one of certainty, fulfillment, and quiet confidence. Because that is where creation begins and ends. Time is the great deceiver when it comes to conscious creation. The moment you assume a new state, whether of wealth, success, healing, or love, it is real. It is done. In imagination, it exists now, but because your senses don't yet confirm it, the mind rushes to measure, to doubt, to question, why hasn't it happened yet? This is the trap, believing that the passage of time is a sign of failure, rather than understanding that creation unfolds in its own perfect rhythm. You must not measure progress by clocks or calendars. Doing so implies that the outer world holds power over your inner reality. But in truth, time is merely the bridge, an obedient servant, not a master. The assumption you make in imagination sets a cause into motion. That cause moves beneath the surface, unseen, forming the conditions necessary to express itself in the visible world. Just because you cannot see the roots growing does not mean the tree isn't coming. There is a natural order to manifestation, just as there is to nature. A seed planted in soil doesn't sprout the next hour. It rests, germinates, breaks open, reaches down for nourishment and up toward light. And all of that happens without visible evidence at first. But faith knows the seed is alive. It knows that something has begun. Your assumption is that seed. The feeling of the wish fulfilled is what waters it. Your persistence in the state is the sunlight. Time will not betray that process if you remain faithful to your inner vision. Impatience is often a form of fear in disguise. It says if it doesn't happen soon, it won't happen at all. But that fear is based on appearances, not truth. Your job is not to demand deadlines from the universe. Your job is to live in the end as if what you desire is already true, regardless of how much time seems to pass. The one who trusts the unseen does not ask when. They rest in the knowing that it is already done and that its arrival is inevitable. You must understand, creation is finished. All states exist now. You are not trying to make something happen. You are choosing the state you want to occupy, and by dwelling there consistently, you draw it into experience. Time is simply the means by which your invisible selection becomes visible. The longer you dwell in the assumption with calm, quiet confidence, the more naturally the bridge of incidents will form. You don't need to see every step, only to know that they are being orchestrated perfectly. Sometimes what seems like a delay is actually protection. Sometimes the time between assumption and manifestation is used to reorder your world, to align people, opportunities, or even remove obstacles you didn't know existed. The universe is not slow. It is precise. It is deliberate. It moves in divine order, not human urgency. There is no benefit in staring at the clock, wondering if it's working. Would you dig up a seed every day to see if it's sprouting? Of course not. You plant it, water it, and trust. So too with your desire. You do your inner work, You assume the feeling of already having it, and then you go about your life with assurance, not desperation. When the mind asks, "Where is it?" you gently remind yourself, "It is done, it is unfolding, I don't need to chase it, is coming to me." Live with that kind of calm. Rest in the end. The timing is never wrong. Creation knows the way, even if you do not. And when it comes, it often arrives in ways more wonderful than you could have planned. True riches are not measured in the balance of your bank account, but in the quality of your inner state. The world teaches that when you have money, then you can feel abundant, safe, joyful, and free. But this is the great illusion. In truth, those inner feelings must come first. They are not the result of wealth. They are the cause of it. The external flow of money, opportunities, and success arises out of an internal sense of richness. When you dwell in the feeling of abundance, you align yourself with the frequency that naturally draws material wealth. You cannot expect money to fix a feeling of lack. You cannot expect more digits in an account to erase inner poverty. In fact, many who chase money without tending to their inner state find themselves in a constant state of anxiety no matter how much they accumulate. They fear losing it. They never feel it's enough, because the outer cannot satisfy what the inner has not resolved. You must reverse the order. First become rich in spirit. First become abundant in thought and emotion. Then money becomes a natural expression of your inner wealth. The feeling of abundance is not dependent on your current situation. It is a choice, a state you can enter at any moment through imagination and awareness. You can close your eyes and feel what it would be like to live in freedom, to be generous, to move through the world with ease and joy. That inner feeling is the magnet. That's what reshapes your subconscious and begins to form a new pattern in your reality. From that state, your decisions change, your posture changes. You see opportunities differently. You speak with authority. You walk with peace. The reason many struggle to attract money is because they are waiting for the outer world to give them permission to feel abundant. But this approach only reinforces the state of lack. It says, "I don't have, so I cannot feel." And that is precisely what continues to create more lack. Instead, you must say, "I feel as if I already have," and allow that feeling to generate the outer result. This is not pretending, it is aligning. It is embodying the truth that the outer world is a reflection of your inner world. Joy is wealth, peace is wealth, confidence is wealth. These are the vibrations that create. When you feel joyful, you are in harmony with the flow of life. When you feel peaceful, you trust that everything is working for you. When you feel confident, you act with boldness and clarity. All of these conditions are fertile soil for financial abundance to take root. Money flows where it is welcome, and it is welcomed by a consciousness that already feels full. So do not chase money. Chase the feeling of being whole, empowered, inspired. Practice being rich in mind and heart, and let the external world conform to that image. Even in moments where the facts seem to contradict it, stay loyal to the state. Choose the vibration over the visible. Money is not the goal, it is the byproduct. It is the shadow of your inner state made visible. You are not trying to get rich. You are remembering that you already are. When you begin to identify with the truth of your inner richness, the world cannot help but respond. Life is not reacting to your needs, it is responding to your state. And when that state is one of genuine abundance, the outer form must follow in time, not as a reward, but as a reflection. Inner discipline is the true measure of power, not the ability to control the world outside, but the ability to govern the world within. Most people are at the mercy of appearances. They look at their bank accounts, their surroundings, the news, the opinions of others, and they react. Their inner state is dictated by external conditions, but the one who is truly powerful has reversed that flow. They have trained their mind to dwell in the feeling of wealth regardless of what the senses report. And in doing so, they have claimed dominion over reality. This is not denial of facts. It is mastery over state. Anyone can feel abundant when the money is flowing, when success is visible,